They overlooked inviting me to the holiday gathering, so I purchased a secluded lodge in the hills. When they arrived with a lock expert to claim it for my sibling, they assumed I was isolated. They never imagined I had an attorney, surveillance devices, and a sheriff's officer in my corner. My name is Aaron. I'm 31, a reporter, the elder sibling, the reliable chauffeur, the one who examines the details and arrives with battery boosters. In my household, that equates to faint murmurs. Dependable, interchangeable, not the main feature. My sister Haley is the spotlight. She enters a space and people tilt their heads as if she carried daylight inside. I arrive with cleaning wipes and a repair kit. I lease a simple single-room apartment. I place my footwear near the entrance, and my computer stays plugged in constantly. My job involves due dates, conversations, and submitting articles at 1:13 a.m. while the heater rattles like an adjacent resident. I rarely share online. I observe more than I speak. I presumed that mattered somehow. 14 days prior to the celebration, I was on the commuter rail heading back, earbuds in place, browsing an incomplete article. The household messaging group notified, "Mother, excited to gather with all for the holidays at Haley's. She's organizing. It'll be enchanting. 27 love symbols from relatives, 2 present icons from father since he still mixes up the icons." I anticipated a continuation. "Aaron, could you fetch frozen cubes?" Or "Wishing you join us?" 0. I observed the input indicators show vanish then nothing. I entered. "Do I arrive on the 24th or 25th? 3 minutes. 5:10. Mother responded, "Oh dear, we assumed you'd be buried in tasks, and Haley's home is cramped. We'll arrange time with you soon. No worries. Simpler like this." That phrase lingered on my display like a mark. Simpler like this. I gazed through the rail window. The pane reflected me like a weary duplicate. I attempted to dismiss it, as usual. I convinced myself it's impersonal, it's practical, it's mother acting typical. Then Haley messaged me separately. "No offense, big brother. My cooking unit is small. We'll meet post-celebrations. Beverages my treat," grinning icon. Opposite the walkway, a child smooshed his cheek to the pane and gestured at the initial flakes. I accessed my device once more. Viewed a bookmark I'd stored ages back. A lodge ad in the Highlands. Compact, serene. A sloped ceiling covered in pale layers. Evergreens like guards. I didn't inform anyone. The following day, I contacted the broker, not to acquire it, not immediately, merely to inquire if the veranda overlooked sunrise and the age of the range. He mentioned the panorama could make a hermit curse. I shut my eyes and envisioned it. A spot where my title would appear on the document, not on a duty roster. An entrance that swung open for me initially. I kept it secret from all. I focused on work, completed my piece, and awaited the flakes to accumulate. If you question my mother, she'll claim I'm consistent. If you question my father, he'll state I require little. That's their method of justifying why the focus has never located me. During youth, Haley demanded it all. Transport, costs, outfits, guidance. Cheers, I provided, not since I'm flawless. Because otherwise, I'd be told that relatives involve rising to the occasion. And rising somehow always implied overlooking myself. As adolescents, Haley received a pre-owned sedan at 17. I drove her to the licensing office and waited 3 hours while father managed the discussion. When I secured my initial trainee role at the publication, father remarked, "Without pay, correct, valuable training, you'll build resilience." When Haley obtained a digital media position crafting phrases for a shop 3 days after, mother shared 12 images and labeled her our tiny phrase artist. I delivered baked treats to market. No one carried any back. This isn't resentment, it's a record. Figures aid my clarity. At 24, when my vehicle failed, I used public transit. At 24, when Haley's cooling unit broke, I covered half cents. You handle funds wisely. At 26, when I at last had a small reserve, Haley and her partner Colin were short on earnings, and mother inquired if I could lend them a bit. It was $1,200. "We'll transfer next cycle," Haley stated. Next cycle turned into post-deductions. Post-deductions turned into, once Colin's venture starts. The start has been imminent for 3 years. I never recovered the funds. I viewed the bills, crafted seats, a glowing marker proclaiming positive energy alone, a getaway in Nashville since fares were low. I accepted it. I reminded myself I'm senior, I ought to assist. I reminded myself the features never select the stable ones, and that's acceptable. Then the minor wounds accumulated. Haley's celebration. I traveled 60 minutes to arrange inflatables and attach decorations while she had her fingers styled. Mine, we ought to schedule something. Message that never received a time. When I authored an article that gained traction, father warned, watch your views. Avoid controversy. When Colin boasted about expanding a media stream, father applauded like he'd invented flames. The autumn feast was the preview for the winter event. I showed up with dessert and a container I couldn't truly justify. Haley arrived delayed, no contribution, with a tale about how the meat seller ruined the portion she desired. Mother said, she's endured a tough period. Aaron, show compassion. I sliced the bird while father recorded Haley sampling her sauce and declaring yum, perfection for social media. Post-meal, mother pulled me aside near the waste containers. Dear, could you review Haley's finances? They're struggling. Perhaps you could aid with the month's lease. You understand costs nowadays. I replied, Mother, I already assisted with the cooler and the Nashville journey, and the occasion their pet required operation, and they left their payment method at lunch. She dismissed it. You're clever with funds. They're not. That's how relatives compliment. I remained silent, since the phrases in my throat weren't suitable for festive settings. 48 hours later, father phoned, no greeting. Haley says you seemed upset. Don't direct it at her. She's bearing much. I questioned, what am I bearing? He replied, you're okay, Aaron. You're reliable. You require little. That phrase once more, you require little. As though needing less justifies receiving nothing, I tracked it, not to hurl at them, to stay truthful. $1,200, $300, $75, $640, 3 lifts to the terminal, 2 weekends of unpaid pet care, 7 hours constructing a sleeping platform while Colin studied expansion strategies. Haley's manner shifted regarding funds. Relaxed initially, you're amazing, big brother, then expected. You address it correct, then demanded, you know we'll repay. The final instance she uttered that. She included, you wouldn't miss $300, I did miss it. Yet I performed my usual action. I agreed. I convinced myself improvement came with composure. I aimed to be fluid. The issue with being fluid is others confuse you for a cloth. The week of the holiday message, I was already sore from the petty matters. That simpler like this wasn't merely about seating and range size. It was about my position, on the edges, excluded from the notice, tool not attendee, so I performed the oddest act in recent times. I sought something solely mine. The lodge wasn't impulsive. I'd been reserving for years, trimming expenses, accepting additional tasks. I knew my figures. The spot was humble, a pair of sleeping areas with a peaked ceiling and a finicky burner needing persuasion. The veranda overlooked dawn. The closest residence was half a mile of furs distant. The broker cautioned about drifts and a waste system beyond its peak. I said, forward the evaluation. I'll study each word. I traveled up on a weekday, the path treated with salt, the heavens a layer of metal. I stopped, exited, and all hushed except the branches. I circled the boundary like investigating an incident, recorded the thin split in the stair, the breeze by the cooking pane, the seal that likely needed renewal. Then I positioned in the central area and observed flakes press the pane. I didn't envision my relatives there. I envisioned my footwear by that entrance. I envisioned a workstation by the opening, a brewer humming, a sentence forming while the pot ticked. I envisioned a latch that rotated for me and me alone. I finalized. I requested a legal acquaintance to inspect the title and prepare a clear no-ambiguity provision while I equipped. Responsibility matters. Routine from a career where contacts disappear and documents protect. I set up a simple monitoring setup. Nothing elaborate. 2 views, one on the path, one on the veranda. The officer at the small Highland post suggested a third for the rear entrance. Folks favor rear entrances, he noted. I included it. I didn't inform mother. I didn't inform father. Certainly not Haley. I desired one pure item, one calm space. Holiday dawn, I intended to prepare flat cakes and review a lengthy article I'd delayed. That's it, not retaliation, not display, not declaration, just flat cakes and some flakes and the echo of my own title in a vacant space that felt full regardless. Holiday dawn arrived gentle and pale. I prepared brew on the temperamental burner and observed vapor cloud the pane. My device vibrated with the household group. Images from Haley's central area, coordinated sleepwear, a plaque stating, relatives, forever. Father's digit in each frame's edge. No one messaged me alone. I captured one image. The lodge in its debut true covering. A navy cup on the ledge, flames in the compact dark burner. I dispatched it with happy holidays from the Highlands. At last accomplished it. Mother, right away. You acquired a lodge? Father, appears costly. Haley, halt. That's charming. Wow, we require an escape desperately. You're wonderful for considering us. When can we reserve a getaway? I gazed at her chain of surprise marks. My torso went chilled, then warm. Me, it's not for leasing. Haley, haha, fine, but like we're relatives. Me, I'm passing the cold season here. It's not prepared for visitors. Scene. Father, we'll discuss post-celebration. They discussed 14 days later by appearing. I'd gone down to the local shop for supplies. Upon return, I spotted them immediately. Wheel marks digging up my path, new foot impressions pressed firmly. On my veranda barrier, a streak where someone balanced. I turned the latch and the prickles on my nape lifted without clear cause. On the rug sat a creased paper in Mother's script. We stopped in. Haley adored it. She and Colin truly require a refresh, and we figured a few cycles here would be restorative. We fetched a latch specialist since we couldn't locate your backup, but we didn't enter. Contact to arrange duplicates. Warm embraces. We fetched a latch specialist. I reviewed the veranda monitor. There they stood at 11:42 m. Mother in a bulky coat. father in his aged cap, Haley in pale footwear, Colin trailing, gripping a container he obviously loaned for appearance. A vehicle. A man in a sweatshirt with a loop of instruments, the latch specialist. The recording displayed father testing my knob, mother gesturing, Haley capturing a walkthrough like a content creator, Colin lifting shoulders as the specialist leaned to my latch with skilled motions. The clip stopped since my alert space overflowed. My gut twisted. I phoned my attorney. I phoned the law post. The officer who'd suggested the rear monitor answered on the second tone. Title, he inquired. Aaron, location, I provided. He exhaled slowly. Yes, I recognize the spot. You captured them. 3 views, I stated. A specialist too. Copy the clips to a storage, he advised. Don't dispatch yet. I'll visit. I prepared infusion I didn't consume. I positioned at the small counter and numbered my inhales. My device glowed. Mother 6 unanswered. Father 4. Haley 3. A message from Colin. Buddy, we were simply attempting to prevent your solitude. The officer's rap was firm. He viewed the segments, face neutral, then stated, kin or not, attempting to bypass a latch is attempted illegal access. Give the go-ahead and we document. He handed a contact. If they return, phone during their presence. Don't exit solo. I eyed the paper on the rug. I reflected on every you require little I'd ingested. Something anchored in me like a stone reaching the base. I messaged the group. Do not return. You're recorded. I've consulted an attorney and an officer. They reacted poorly. Mother phoned initially. Gentle tone amplified to maximum. Aaron, sweetheart, why intensify? We didn't access. We merely glanced. Haley is delicate. She requires a peaceful spot. You're focused on well-being, correct? I stated. You fetched a specialist to my entrance. Oh, cease being precise. She retorted, sweetness fracturing. We were organizing. Relatives distribute. Father left a recording that started. Child, don't act selfish and finished. You've never grasped giving. Haley dispatched a section. You're behaving like some online tycoon protecting a vessel. You possess a lodge. We are sinking. It would cost you 0 to aid. We'd improve it. You are indebted for all the occasions I attended your dull presentations. I gazed at that final phrase for ages. You are indebted. My attorney, Priya, drafted a document that stated, in the composed tone of regulations, any effort to reach the site without the holder's approval will be viewed as intrusion, with backing visual proof. She recommended I forward a duplicate to the specialist's firm. I did. They phoned to regret in 60 minutes. We were informed it was a locked-out scenario by the holders. The supervisor said, we'll mark the contact. That evening, father messaged me an image of Haley weeping on a sofa, eye makeup blurred like a generic photo. This is your impact on your sibling. I didn't respond. I browsed prior messages. Can you lend 200? Do you own an extra sleeping pad? We require transport from the terminal at 1 a.m. Can you? Oops, left payment at meal. I paused at an image of Haley at 19 raising my media pass since it makes me feel significant. I allowed the display to dim. The following dawn, I traveled to the post with a container of pastries. The officer, Macready, badge tilted, reviewed the segments once more and output the report sheet. You aren't required to submit, he noted. Occasionally just the form scares them into compliance. I submitted, silently, not to disrupt summer festivities. To ensure my latch signified what a latch should. Time elapsed. The Highland pattern took hold in me. Brew, phrases, strolls down the crunching path. A red creature at twilight. I switched the veranda bulb to a movement detector and renewed the strike on the bolt since the specialist's tool had left a mark only I'd notice. Then arrived the hunt. 22 unanswered while I was on a voice discussion. 17 messages, mother, father, Haley, and a group titled Kin. True, Colin naturally red-idled it. The messages flowed in surges. Remorse, frustration, negotiating, mother, we erred but you're exceeding, father. True males don't shelter behind authorities. Haley, we located a renter for your spot. You could earn $2,000 per cycle simply, so permit us residents the initial period and we'll oversee it. Colin, we'll split earnings. 70-30, we manage upkeep. I chuckled, vocally, solo in my cooking area. Colin attempting to profit from my entrance like he'd sketched it on a board. Priya stated, ignore venture suggestions. Avoid bargaining via message. She included, in a gentler tone, your limits don't require a presentation. I continued authoring. I grew to appreciate the clang of the burner when the skillet positioned. I acquired a holder for my latches by the entrance and placed them there each time like a ceremony. I inscribed my title on the post box in neat dark characters. The initial correspondence to me at that location was a loan proposal. The second was a regional publication. I grinned regardless. 7 days later, the officer drove by on a leisurely midday. Your kin passed through village, he said, like noting climate. Inquired at the eatery if there's a shop that duplicates latches. Folks converse in small areas. Just aware. Appreciate, I said. It struck like an alert chime. I purchased fresh bolts. Advanced safety with restricted duplication. I retained the bill. I photographed. It seemed foolish and mature and essential simultaneously. The ultimate push arrived on arrest evening, 9:14 p.m. The monitors alerted. Dual beams glided across the branches. A known vehicle, then Haley's pale footwear on my stairs. Colin following, cap raised. Mother in the front seat, clutching her device like an arm. The specialist vehicle did not show this round. I didn't unlock, I phoned McCready. They rapped. They shouted my title through the panel. Aaron, we know you're inside, cease the drama. McCready's vehicle ascended the path in a gradual, cautious climb. He exited and addressed them like addressing skies. Night, Mother's eyes widened. We're simply here to speak with our child. From the veranda, he said, which is owned. Haley crossed limbs. He's creating a spectacle. McCready said zero. He just positioned where they viewed the emblem, where they sensed the gap between kin and regulation. I unlocked then, not fully, just sufficient. I maintained my tone soft, firm. Depart. Haley fluttered eyes. You truly prefer summoning authorities on us over distributing a vacant lodge. It isn't vacant, I said. I'm occupying it. Mother's chin quivered. You've altered. Yes, I said. I have. Colin attempted a grin like we were lads sharing a prank. Come on, guy. Let's be logical. We'll be logical via electronic mail, I said. Via my attorney. Haley's expression solidified into something familiar. You are indebted to us. There it was, voiced aloud on my veranda. No, I said, I'm not. She eyed McCready, anticipating his support since uniformed figures had always aligned with her. He didn't. He nodded his cap toward the path. Let's avoid creating documents from nothing. They departed, gradually, like removing a strip they wished to retain. Back within, I pressed my brow against the chilled panel. My fingers trembled. I permitted them. Then I prepared infusion and positioned at the counter and noted precisely what occurred. Time marks, statements, where Haley positioned, where Mother's device aimed. The quiver in my tone that stabilized partway. Priya phoned the next day. You aren't obligated to heighten, she said. But you aren't obligated to justify. What do I do with the silence? I inquired. Occupy it with your existence, she said. Warm season discovered the veranda. Flakes slid off the ceiling in weary layers. I mastered the precise moment the rays touch the crest, how the glow settles on my workstation like a vow. I submitted an article I valued. I rested like someone who relies on his own bolts. Mother posted a greeting at the renewal feast. On the cover, flowers. Within, an image of the kin at Haley's counter. A script in flowing ink. You'll forever hold a spot here when you're prepared to end the obstinance. No regret, just a call to delete all the aspects that rendered me troublesome. I placed the greeting under a weight and allowed it there, not to dwell. To recall what phrases appear when attempting to shift the markers. During the warm months, I encountered calm individuals. The man at the supply shop who identifies every clatter a vehicle can produce. The bookkeeper who reserves the publication for me. The server who labels me urban and refills my cup before request. I began to feel recognized by title, not by function. A relative messaged me in the 7th month. Group says you exploded. Accurate, I responded. I replaced my bolts and retained my duplicates. He wrote, wish I possessed your courage. I wrote, it's not courage, it's documents and a choice. Haley shared a section on a visual site in the 8th month about pardon and kin priority. I viewed it, continued, sliced a vegetable for meal, and teared only since the vegetable was potent. Occasionally at dark, the former habit knocks. I picture Mother's pain tone, Father's letdown. I envision myself yielding, then I survey, my cup on my counter, my pad open to a fresh sheet, the veranda bulb activating when an insect grows bold. I inhale that inexpensive evergreen aroma I favor, and I recall, convenience isn't identical to tranquility. I retained one phrase from that cold season and inscribed it on an adhesive above my workstation. This isn't about retribution, it's about limits. It maintains my truthfulness. I didn't acquire a lodge to penalize anyone. I acquired a lodge because I am an individual and individuals deserve entrances that shut. I'm Aaron, 31, reporter, eldest, former supporting role. I still transport battery boosters in my storage. I still fetch cleaning wipes, but I don't surrender my duplicates. Not to remorse, not to clamor, not to history. The lodge isn't an emblem. It's timber and fasteners and a burner that puffs when the skillet is cool. It's also where my title on a document showed me what my title values. I require little. That was their phrase. Here's mine. I require what's mine to remain mine. And when the debut flakes of the fresh cycle dust the veranda, I'll prepare flat cakes once more. I'll dispatch no images to any group. I'll drink brew, access a new file, and author the feature only I require to view. I wasn't isolated, I was reciting.